All right, so explain to people the differences of boredom. And the different articles that I read, there's kind of two different, I guess, containers of boredom. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, sure. So we traditionally treat boredom as a negative emotion that is something that people want to avoid. For instance, if you're waiting for a bus or waiting for a train, well, it stops you from getting to the place you want to be, and you feel bored. You may look at your phone, you may grow restless, you may be searching emails. That is what we kind of would call superficial boredom. So that's boredom that is much more commonplace. I'm sure we all recognize that experience of just waiting for something to happen. Um, the other sort of category of boredom, and this comes from the ideas of German philosopher Martin Heidegger, is that boredom can actually be much more profound and can be a catalyst for the discovery of new passions. Not so much a catalyst for creativity, but boredom that offers an opportunity to self-reflect and to actually understand what is meaningful for you. And what we find, so extending these ideas, is that more profound feelings of boredom can actually lead to a process of discovery of passions and things that actually provide meaningful engagement with the world around them. So those are the two sort of classical categories of boredom.
How long does it take to enter the first state and then go into the second state? Is there kind of a defined time period between you're in this superficial state of boredom versus the profound?
What we find is that people are very, very good at keeping themselves in a state of superficial boredom. One of the weird paradoxes of superficial boredom is that we may be waiting, for a bus to arrive, which in the UK happens a hell of a lot. And what we do in these instances is we may flick through our phone. Yeah? We may spend time on social media just looking for any sort of new piece of news and information. Now, what our participants, when we interview them, sort of say is, yeah, in that moment, flicking through social media feeds allowed me to escape boredom. However, at the same time, it just reiterated and made my feelings of superficial boredom even worse because I just went, why was I doing that? It's a waste of my time. I could have been doing something else. I could have been planning my, time for the year, my trip for the holiday period. So there's this weird sort of state where people willingly find things to distract them. The things that they use to distract them are really unfulfilling. And even though you may have a small chunk of time to fill, in fact, this could actually be used in a much more meaningful way. The other thing to mention is our study explored people's experiences of the pandemic. And what the pandemic provided was an opportunity for a bit of a natural experiment. What happens when people didn't necessarily need to go to work? What this allowed people to have is an abundance of time that they could fill at their own leisure. And we found that the pandemic, because it allowed people to have an abundance of time, is that they had no work to fill it. And that abundance of time meant people were, left largely by themselves, for instance, or not doing daily tasks, not having to, plan to go to work or prepare meals. And the abundance of time allowed people to go, wow, I really don't have that many interests that aren't my work. And that sort of self-reflection went, well, what do I actually like? And that breeds the conditions for people to go, wow, I really need to grow some hobbies, some interests, to rediscover the things that I was interested in and that provide motivation and meaning when I was younger. So you see lots of people returning to sports that they put to the side when they were teenagers, or discovering baking, or discovering putting together chairs and tables, breaking things in the house and learning how they sort of learn. So the abundance of time allows more profound feelings of boredom to be created.